Pendant la guerre, il y avait des militaires de l'autre côté.
During the war, the army was on the other side. Nobody was allowed through here. When the army wasn't present, the two ethnic groups fought each other, because the young Tutsis had been made to think along ethnic lines. Young Tutsis killed Hutus, and young Hutus killed Tutsis. They were told this was necessary to preserve their ethnic identity. Those adolescents also plundered and destroyed houses here. But now the same young people who wreaked the destruction are showing that they have changed for the better. They're coming into the center and helping to make bricks for rebuilding the houses they wrecked. The center has brought about a rethink. It has sensitized adolescents. And that is really positive.
Je dirais que le centre a fait qui est positif vraiment.
Saturday afternoon by the shore of Lake Tanganyika. Epimaque and his friend Alphonse have brought us to their favorite spot, just outside Bujumbura. A few years ago, a weekend excursion like this would have been unthinkable. In Burundi, in Central Africa, civil war raged for more than 10 years. But for 2 years now, peace has slowly been returning.
Donc, avant moi, je ne connaissais vraiment mon ethnie.
Before the war, I had no idea which ethnic group I belonged to. When I first saw people starting to kill one another, I asked myself, why?
Et c'est là où j'ai commencé à savoir que je suis Hutu.
That was when I learned that I am a Hutu. My parents explained to us that we were Hutu and the others in the other district were Tutsis. I asked them what the difference was. They told me that someone with a slender nose is a Tutsi, and someone with a nose a bit like this is a Hutu.
I remember one day Hutu armed with machetes turned up and told my father they'd been looking for him. I asked him why they were looking for him. They're Hutu, my father said. They want to kill me because I'm a Tutsi.
Pace, peace, is written in large letters on one of the flags in the Centre Jeune Kamenge in Bujumbura, the capital of Burundi. In the week, Epimaque comes here every day. It was here that he got to know Alphonse, and here that he meets his other friends. During the war, meeting Hutu friends as a Tutsi or vice versa meant risking your life. That was only possible at this youth centre, which is run by the Catholic Church. For smaller children, the war is no longer such a reality, but for adolescents it's still very real, because nearly everyone here has lost a member of their family. Whether the activity is basketball or play acting, the focus at the youth centre is always on promoting understanding between Hutus and Tutsis and finding peaceful solutions to problems. The young people allowed us to watch them rehearsing a new play. Its theme, arranged marriages. The theatre project is one of 800 annual activities at the Centre Jeune Kamenge. The centre is supported in its work by institutions from abroad, including Misereor, the relief organization of the Catholic Church in Germany.
We often perform forum theatre for the locals. Our plays show how people clash and then make their peace with each other. During the performance, the audience can propose solutions to conflicts. In this way, they see that fighting is not so good, that it's far better to get on well together.
Since the centre was founded, 200 young people have lost their lives. They were either murdered, killed in an accident, or died from disease. Some have simply disappeared. They are just 200 of around 350,000 victims of the civil war in Burundi. The youth centre, which was founded on the initiative of the Bishop of Bujumbura, lay in the city's worst war zone. Back in 1991, Claudio Marano, a Xaverian priest from Italy, was one of the 3 founders of the centre. Surrounded by war, he helped create a place of peace here. In recognition of its work, in 2002, the Centre Jeune Kamenge was awarded the Alternative Nobel Prize.
The aim of our work is actually very simple. We want to bring young people together, here at the centre and in nearby districts, in order to create diversity and to establish an atmosphere of cooperation, of joy, of reconciliation and of pardon, instead of people seeking what they regard as justice by force of arms.
Reading and writing instead of fighting. Day after day, every last seat in the library is taken. When the civil war erupted in 1993 and murderous militias went on the rampage through the districts of Kamenge and Cibitoke, many children stopped going to school, some for years. In 1962, Burundi gained its independence from Belgium, but instead of unity, work and progress, the country was characterized by massacres. Whether in the provinces of Ruigi, Bubanza or Rutana, the Hutu population was oppressed by the Tutsi minority for more than 40 years. But people now hope for a permanent peace, not only in the capital, but throughout the countryside too. In May 2004, a UN mission intervened and 12 months later, democratic elections were held. Despite this progress, however, Burundi remains one of the world's poorest nations. The poverty isn't visible at first glance, but according to UN figures, more than 90% of all Burundians live below the breadline. Half of them, 4 million people, have to get by on less than $1 a day. There are hardly any jobs, especially for young people. Repairing bicycles is one of the few ways of earning some money. But the boys here in Kamenge take home barely 60 euro cents a day, not even enough to eat properly. Virtually everyone here knows what it means to go hungry. Yet weapons from the civil war are still in circulation. A dangerous situation that threatens peaceful coexistence. Hand in hand for building a world of brothers is more than just a slogan. Through literacy courses, anti-AIDS campaigns and instruction and help in house building, 200,000 people profit from the youth centre's programs. At the centre itself, sport plays a predominant role. But it's about far more than winning or losing. It was 7 years ago on this court that Alphonse and Epimac got to know each other. Irrespective of whether someone is a Tutsi or a Hutu, a Christian or a Muslim, what matters here is sporting ambition and mutual respect. It's democracy on a small scale, even if people hold greatly differing opinions.
We are the Burundi of tomorrow. We will shape the country. We all experienced Burundi during the war and Burundi before the war. What is now important for us is to take a different approach from the one which led to war. It's up to my generation to build up Burundi the way it was before the conflict.
A volleyball court as a training ground for peace and reconciliation. In the opinion of Misereor, the youth centre has been an incredible success. It has 28,000 adolescent members who take the message of peace back to their families.
War teaches us that if we can sit down at the table together, we can always find a way.
Egide Ngenda Grio is one of Father Claudio's closest assistants. Here he's driving us through Kamenge and Cibitoke, two of the districts that suffered particularly widespread destruction. Every summer, 3,000 young people from the centre help to rebuild homes. The workers on this building site, however, are not voluntary helpers, but paid labourers. We wanted to know what life is now like for people in this district of Bujumbura. We feel better, he says. There's peace. But the peace isn't totally secure. The peace treaty with the rebels isn't being implemented. So the peace situation isn't what it should be? The politicians, he says, must reach agreement with the FNL rebels. While labourers here mix cement for the equivalent of €1 a day and rebuild houses, in the mountains outside the capital, rebels belonging to the FNL are still fighting. The FNL is the only side in the former civil war that has still not laid down its arms. 4 hours' drive from Bujumbura, we are now leaving the tropical heat behind and heading into the mountains of Burundi on the border with Tanzania. It's cold and wet. But despite the bad weather, well over 1,000 people have gathered outside the church in Ruigi. Some of the worshippers have walked for up to 3.5 hours to attend the service. Today, 650 children will celebrate their first communion. The church has never seen so many people since the war began. Since 1972, the Diocese of Ruigi, under Bishop Joseph Ndu Hirubusa, has been a close partner of Misereor. The worshippers here today have little idea that the Catholic Relief Organization was founded in 1958 by Cardinal Frings of Cologne and the German Bishops' Conference. What matters to them is their church and the support it receives.
Sadly, I never made the acquaintance of Cardinal Frings, but I had heard of his blessed initiative for Africa and other countries with development problems. His successors have continued his work.
ont continué à la même initiative.
We, as a church, greatly appreciate the solidarity we have been allowed to experience. It enables us to place our own work in the cause of solidarity on a far sounder and more effective footing.
Parce que je dis souvent aux chrétiens que
I often tell our faithful that we should cherish our brothers and sisters in Europe. They help us without knowing us, and, as a result, enable us to develop with human dignity.
Together with the Congo, in the late 1950s, Burundi became the first country Misereor entered into a partnership with. Schools received particular support. A VW transporter was one of the first visible signs of solidarity from Germany. Vocational schools for bricklaying and other trades were opened. Hospitals and schools were built. No one today can say how many pupils and project partners died as a result of the military dictatorship and the Civil War. "50 years on, at Misereor in Aachen, they still uphold the basic principle of Cardinal Frings, that help should be provided irrespective of race, nationality, gender or religion. This help consists of advice and financial support. Responsibility lies with the various project partners.
We know from personal experience that the poor have great potential. We also know that every formula for development that comes in from outside, every idea for a project that is not born jointly by the people to benefit from it, in other words, is not fully adopted by them, is doomed to failure. No project will succeed that does not correspond to the needs and expectations of those for whom it is designed. Consequently, you can only engage in development work if there are local agencies you can turn to and rely on, and if you only do things that fit into the respective context.
Local agencies like the Isange project. Here, Misereor supports a team that looks after refugee communities. Standing in the middle of the circle, anybody can give vent to his thoughts and feelings. For people here, having someone listen to them and even write down what they say is a totally new experience. Topics addressed range from theft to poverty, from the violence of war to secret polygamy. It's pretty heavy stuff. Nevertheless, listeners find some of the ideas and remarks extremely funny. All in all, an inspiring and promising experience. Isange's approach then is narrative theatre. In this way, within the course of just one afternoon, the presenter can animate an entire village.
We help them to identify and express their problems themselves. Within the context of their history and their milieu, we assist them to find the power to come up with their own solutions to their problems.
Qui peuvent les aider à sortir eux-mêmes et ils peuvent trouver des solutions.
What we do here is stimulate people. We try to listen to the problems of the refugees in Butezi and gather their stories. We then present refugees' problems to the Bishops' Conference. They, in turn, try to make those responsible on an administrative level better acquainted with such issues. We hope that after analyzing the situation, we'll be able to improve living conditions for the refugees here.
Darkness is falling. The Isange team drives on to the next refugee camp. 250 families live here, including many widows and orphans. They are Tutsis who, in 1993, fled from their villages to seek military protection from the Hutu population. The Hutus, for their part, were brutally persecuted by the army. Hundreds of thousands fled to Tanzania. But by the end of 2007, Tanzania plans to repatriate 200,000 Burundian refugees. They will all need a patch of land and a home. Providing help for returning refugees is one of the main tasks of Misereor's partner, Soprad, the development office of the Diocese of Luigi. Together with a staff of 50, Abe Tade Nia Buhuro looks after people's needs. Over the last few years, this small office has coordinated the construction of 9,000 homes. Seed and goats are distributed to returnees. The office also establishes schools and medical stations, protects resources and helps to provide food.
In our development work with people, we have one guiding principle. We make no distinctions. We only see human beings. We do not categorize people as good or bad. We try to focus on the poorest and most vulnerable members of society.
People who need support. This also includes former rebels. An hour's drive from Luigi, we visited an integration project for former combatants. This kiosk on the market square in Muriza is also part of the project. Instead of waging war, Sebastian Butoi now sells soap, palm oil and other goods. Anyone visiting his kiosk finds it hard to imagine that he spent 9 years fighting for the CNND FDD, a rebel movement. In 2005, he handed in his gun and in return was given $600. With the help of Soprad, he used the money to set up a business as a trader. Staff at the development office advise and monitor Sebastian and around 1,000 other former combatants on their way back into a normal life.
When I came back 2 years ago, I had problems with people here in the village. They thought I still had my gun. What's more, my land and all I owned here had been destroyed. There were people who had evil intentions towards me. The preparation I was given in the demobilization camp helped me establish contact with people. I tried to show them that there is no problem, that they can come to me and buy things quite normally.
If we do not manage to help people who have been demobilized to return to civilian life, if they cannot make the transition to normal life, then we run the risk of another war.
But that is not the only threat to peace. A new enemy has emerged in Burundi: climate disaster. Serious flooding has destroyed 90% of the last harvest.
We have peace, but we also have the fear of another war breaking out because of hunger. There are some people who would kill for a chicken.
In Burundi, half the children under 5 are chronically undernourished. Verdant, fertile hills. But this idyllic picture is deceptive. On the world market, Burundi's only export commodities, tea and coffee, do not fetch a fair price. Globalization is making people here even poorer. A great concert for great friends, claims this poster in the Centre Jeune Kamenge. More than 5,000 people have come to the centre from the surrounding districts to hear Big Farias and Uncle Crazy. Top stars don't often appear in the poor parts of the city. But they too want to point the way towards peaceful coexistence. Only a month ago, Jérôme, one of the most valued members of staff at the centre, was murdered along with his wife.
This is a highly emotional moment for us. We hope that this concert will be a call to everyone here, and that it will give us the strength and the courage to continue further along the difficult road to peace.
Route qu'il est très difficile, que c'est la route de la paix.
hope for a peaceful future can be felt all over Burundi, especially here on this particular day. Misereor will continue to accompany people on their path towards peace and perhaps bring justice a step closer in this world.
We were all created by the same God, so I see no reason why we should be against one another. We are all human beings. We all have the same blood in our veins, and it's only our noses that are different, and that's something we really ought to forget.